Welcome to On the Record, Updates and Echoes, a podcast by the Pocahontas Record-Democrat. I'm Erin Summers. We're sponsored this month by the PAC Fine Arts Boosters. I have worked at daily and weekly newspapers for a long time, and no matter when your deadlines are, they don't always line up with when the news is coming out or when things change. Last Monday, I went to the Pocahontas City Council meeting where they had a line on their agenda to talk about a possible extension of the city's sewer line to the city's industrial park on the north side of town. Councilman Cody DeWall, talking about that idea, mentioned that if a sewer line extension happened, that could mean that the proposed splash pad could move from beside the pool up into Elbert Park. It kind of took some people by surprise because there were at least a few members of council who thought that the location had already been set. I wrote about that meeting for this week's paper and all the concerns that came up during the meeting and afterward. But this morning, a council member also stopped by my office with a little more information that I couldn't get into this week's paper because it was Monday and we had already put the newspaper together. Essentially, this council member said there were a number of questions that council members didn't know to ask at previous meetings, things that city officials didn't ask, and that maybe even the splash pad organizers may not have known to ask before letting the project move ahead. There is supposed to be a meeting this week on Tuesday, March 10th, between the city's park board and some members of city council to talk about possible locations for the splash pad. I do plan to go to that meeting, and you'll be able to read that update in next week's paper. There's just, I think, a lot of moving parts right now, and I think some things came up that people weren't expecting or didn't realize they needed to talk about. And I think there are a lot of people who are frustrated, but I am hopeful that everyone will be able to have a good conversation and start asking those questions and get this situation resolved. Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird visited Pocahontas Community Hospital last week. She was there to get some more interest in finding rural nurses who are willing to take the training and become certified sexual assault nurse examiners. What I thought was really interesting was to hear from some of our local nurses why they've hesitated to take that training. And one of the big reasons, and something that's actually kind of a good thing, is that Pocahontas County has so few sexual assaults every year that the nurses weren't sure that it was a training that it would pay off for them to take, and whether it was a good trade-off for the amount of time they had to take off to take those classes. Last year, Pocahontas County had 0 recorded sexual assaults. I think that Attorney General Bird enjoyed the discussion, and there was a pretty good back and forth. You can read more about that in all of our papers. If you're really into pictures more than reading the newspaper, we do have half a page of photos from the PAC Spring Play. I got to watch half of the show and take some photos. I thought the kids did a great job. I was able to interview former Lorenz Marathon track and football coach Al Pierce last week about being inducted into the Football Coaches Hall of Fame. We also had a really interesting conversation about youth sports, and we dove into some of his coaching successes. If you split up your property tax payments, just a heads up that the bill is coming due March 31st. Pocahontas County Treasurer Amy Johnson sent me a reminder to put in this week's paper that depositing the envelope in a USPS drop box does not guarantee a same-day postmark. And if that payment shows up at her office with a postmark of April 1st or later, the property owner will be assessed late fees. People who are mailing their tax payments should go to a post office and request a postmark at the counter. The county also does offer a way to pay those taxes online. You can find out more and find that link in this week's papers. The big sports news this week is the state championship the Newell Fonda Mustang girls team brought home Saturday night. The Mustangs defeated St. Ansgar, then St. Albert, and finally Bishop Garrigan to win their 5th state championship. We've got game stories in this week's BV County Journal, and we'll have a special section in next week's paper all about the 2025-26 season. This special edition is always really fun to put together. I always interview a number of the girls' players by email, and their comments are always really insightful and just really fun to read. I hope you will pick that up next week. The Twin Lakes Conference named the all-conference girls basketball team this week. Newell Fonda had 4 girls making the cut: Ellie Severs and Quinn Severs on first team, Riley Hograve on the second team, and Josie Walsh on the third team. For PAC, seniors Chloe Mefford made the first team, while Elena Kakachik was named to the second team, and Kristen Axman got third team honors for the Indians. Thanks again to PAC Fine Arts Boosters for sponsoring us this month. And up next is the Echoes portion of our podcast. Welcome to the Echoes portion of the podcast. I'm Erin Summers, and here with me today is Sandy Rutherford, who also works here at the Record-Democrat. Nobody has heard this story yet. I didn't give anybody any spoilers. So I'm just going to ask, what is a really good location joke we like to make in Pocahontas County? See if you know.
I don't know.
Where's Ware?
Oh, duh. My dad said that all the time.
Yeah. So, Where's a running joke, right?
Yes.
Ware, if you are not from here, is spelled W-A-R-E. And these days it's pretty much a four-way stop. But once upon a time, it really was a small town. Had a very successful girls basketball team in the 1950s. Yes. I've done a few stories on things from Ware. A little bit of background on the town before I read out to you this really fabulous account I found in the newspaper, the Pocahontas Record, October 18th, 1900. Ware was founded in 1900 with the arrival of the Rock Island train line. The Record-Democrat on August 11th, 1960, published some information about Ware's history because they had gotten some 50-year-old photos of Ware. Okay. So the RD in 1960 wrote, once described as the fastest growing town in the county, Ware today has declined to a small rural hamlet. Its busy main street included a bank, a blacksmith and wagon shop, 2 grocery and food stores, 2 implement businesses, a lumber store, a livery and dray, real estate office, a creamery, a drugstore, 2 elevators, a hotel, a hardware store, telephone office, post office, a barber shop, and a general store.
Wow. In Ware?
In Ware.
In Ware.
Like, okay. I'm trying to imagine it, and I have no idea what that would have looked like.
No.
And then the other little bit that the newspaper published in 1960 was that Francis L. Ware owned 1,480 acres of land in the vicinity. He donated the railroad right-of-way land that was across Section 17 of Sherman Township. So that's why it's called Ware, because there was actually a person named Ware.
That makes sense.
And then a little bit more about Francis Ware from a website called warefamilies.org. Ware also donated additional ground for the depot and side tracks at that place. The establishment of this town and Palmer was the result of a railroad passing through Pocahontas, the last county seat in Iowa, to be connected with the outside world. Did you know Pocahontas is the last county seat to get a train?
No, I didn't know that.
I don't think I knew that either. I knew it came really late, but I didn't know it was the last one.
Wow. Yeah, no, I don't even remember the road being here at all.
Right? So,
other than that little part that's by Bartosh's.
Exactly. Yeah, I've taken a few pictures over there. So, we make that Where's Ware joke a lot, right?
Yes.
In 1900, they were basically making the same joke, but they were talking about Francis Ware.
Oh.
The lost is found. The wanderer has returned. F.L. Ware, of whom all trace was lost about a year ago, and who owns the town site of Ware, which was named for him, at last turned up. He struck Pocahontas Monday morning, he and his Klondike dog, and struck it squarely. He says he has been up in the Klondike regions and hasn't been lost at all. So he disappeared, and no one knew where he went, and he didn't tell anyone.
So he just left and didn't tell anybody.
He didn't tell anybody. So you could just go west in 1899, 1900 for a year and come back. And I was reading this. Does he have family? Like what did he do?
He's just wandering.
He clearly had a lot of money. I mean, he bought 1,400 acres and founded a whole town. It gets named after him. And then just heads west. How did he get there? Was there there was probably a train, right?
Probably, but you'd think somebody would have known that he got on the train then.
Right? Or known where he was going. So the article continues. We rather imagine he had some quiet fun all to himself during the morning, listening to certain conversations relative to his disappearance. In fact, we are cognizant of one conversation in which he was one of the principals, which must have afforded him some amusement. So even a year later, people are talking about where he is all the time, and he's just like, yeah, I wonder where that Ware guy is. And they didn't recognize him.
I suppose you don't, need a haircut or shave.
It's been a year and maybe nobody knew you.
Nobody recognized you for a while.
Yeah, so he comes back,
That would
and
actually
then
be so fun.
I know, and then there was a little bit more, and I don't see where I had written this down, but he came back with it was up here. He came back with a Klondike dog, so like a sled dog.
Is that like a husky?
I'm guessing a
type of-
husky, Alaskan, is it
Which I
Malamute?
suppose wouldn't have
Yeah.
been around here very,
Right? Did he have the first husky in Pocahontas County?
That'd be hilarious.
It would be really funny.
Huskies are so funny.
They have a lot of personality. They are more dog than I want to have. The last little bit in the article, it says, the people of the town of Ware will no longer, I don't know what that means. Sometimes I retype these and they are not great. Anyway, the people in Ware, some of them couldn't get title to new land. The city couldn't expand onto Ware's land because he was out of town and no one could find him. So they were the town was expanding toward the Hamfelt addition. And now they can get title to lots in the original town site because Mr. Ware came back. So he owned 1,400 acres in the fastest growing town in Pocahontas County. And he just ditched them and left them all going, how do we build here?
Wow. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I know.
Evidently he didn't either.
He didn't either. And then my last question, and I could not find an answer to this, was did he find gold? Like what happened to him? I never could find an obituary. But, yeah. That Ware family's website had a lot of stuff about Wares all over the country. So, and there were a lot of them named Francis and Frank, and none of them seemed to be the right guy after that. But he was originally from Chicago and then came to Iowa and bought a bunch of land and then went panning for gold in Alaska, or just, wanted to go see the scenery.
Yeah, maybe he left a Franco.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really fun.
I never knew it was named after a person.
Me either. I never really thought about it, but yeah.
But yeah, it would be fun to just be like, I'm out for a while. Take
right?
off.
Right? The last little thing I'll show you, this is the front page. It's just sort of this random bit in the middle. No headline, just says the lost is found.
Oh.
But I also noticed here is an ad space, and it just says this space reserved for McIntyre Brothers Embalmers and funeral directors. And I don't know if they forgot to put in their ad, but they paid for it, or forgot to bring in the copy. Or is that the ad?
Or is it just like a section that they reserve for like obituary things?
Oh, that could be.
And then
we didn't have
any that week, so it's just we don't fill it because it's their space.
They paid for it. So I thought that was really funny too.
Huh. Yeah, it's a nice big blank space.
It's a lot of front page real estate, as we might call it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you've learned something new.
Yes.
I hope you all learned something new, and we will talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening.